All right, what's going on, y'all? Sean, Back to Basics, Fitness with Sean here, and I'm excited about this live stream today because I want to talk about fat loss. Specifically with fat loss, I want to talk about how to make fat loss easy in 2026. Let's face it, 2026 is almost here, which is crazy, and we already know top of the year. We're making resolutions or whatever you want to call them, commitments or whatever. And one of the top ones, if not the top one, I would believe is a resolution to lose weight. Okay. Now, the other truth with that is the fact that typically, most of the time people make these resolutions to lose fat and they're not successful. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, you know, or anything like that. But what it does mean is that there's something in the way of you successfully losing fat. The reason why I talk about fat loss so much is because I'm a big believer in having a health goal, reaching the health goal, and then moving on with your life. Because when we set goals, we don't set goals to just perpetually, well, we don't necessarily set goals to perpetually work on them without ever accomplishing them. That may be true of some goals, but weight loss is one of those. It's very specific, it's very measurable, and it's one of those things where okay, I want to get to this point. Okay. And so you don't set a fat loss goal or weight loss goal to never reach it. So we're going to talk about making fat loss easy in 2026 because it is easy. It is easy. And I'm going to explain how. Now, if you're on live, I want you to make sure that if you have any questions, use the chat. You know, even if you have comments, like just things that come to your mind, feel free to use the chat for that as well. Um, then when we get toward the end of this, then we will, kind of open the floor for those questions where I address your questions. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. Hold on a second. I need to give me 1 second here. Um, Here we go. All right. So making fat loss easy or make fat loss easy in 2026. So I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm not gonna my slides aren't gonna be very complex because I know how it is to be presented all this text, and it's a lot to read and whatnot. But I'm gonna hit the main points on there and I'm gonna elaborate. And like I said, if you have anything you want to ask while I'm doing this webinar, you can go ahead and put it in the chat now. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. All right. So we're going right in. Here's the first thing I want you to understand. And it's known, but I really want to help you to understand this because this is what's gonna make it easy. The thing to understand about fat loss is, or about fat in particular, is that fat is energy. Okay. Fat is literally stored energy. What happens is when you have when you consume food, especially if the food is like carbohydrate, you know, what happens is excess, you know, excess energy, so to speak, from the food that your body is not able to either immediately use or to store in muscle in the form of glycogen, that is actually taken up into your fat cells and your liver. It's taken in the glucose from the food that you eat is taken into your fat. It's stored as fatty acids and is stored for the purpose of usage at a future time. Think of it like a savings account. or um, like a battery or something like that. The energy is stored there, and it can very well be used to do work, if that makes sense. So my background is engineering, and one thing we learned about the relationship between energy and work, like mathematical, like physics kind of equations. So work is accomplished by using energy. Okay. We also learned about the concept of potential energy, which you may remember. Potential energy is energy that has the potential to be used for work, doing stuff. In other words, okay, that's all that fat is. In our society, especially from like, I would say it probably stems a lot from like the 80s, the 90s, when there was like a lot of fear of fat. Fat became this nefarious, evil organism in society. And so, it was like, we got to kill the fat. We got to kill the fat. We got to burn the fat. We got to, and then all the stuff, the food products, low fat and no fat, reduced fat, which now we understand that's actually very problematic to do such things with our food. But there's this whole kind of negative connotation to fat, but fat is very, very useful. Fat is energy that your body can use. Okay, so yeah, let's understand that. The next, let's sorry, let me see something here. Looking for, here it is. All right, so it's the potential to do work. Let me say this too. When it comes to the usage of fat, when your body determines that it needs more energy, like for example, maybe you're becoming more active for some reason, or even you could be using more energy in your brain or something like that, if you're kind of engaging in some sort of highly mental intellectual activity, then your body will actually call on the fat, the to be oxidized, lipids in your fat storage to be oxidized, to meet the body's additional energy needs. Okay, so you get energy, so to speak, um, from your food that is stored in your fat for a future time. Then, whenever your body sees that there's a demand for it, then your body will go and pull out of storage. Okay, so let's keep on going from there. The second thing I want you to understand is this: we know that fat is energy now. The second thing I want you to understand is that if you are not losing fat, it is because you are in fat gain mode. So let me go back to the energy concept. If fat is stored energy and you are not getting rid of that fat, matter of fact, maybe you are gaining more and more and more and more fat, it's a couple of different things that are at play. Okay. One, you're continuously consuming more energy, so to speak, than your body requires. Two, your energy output is not high enough um to overcome whatever it is that you're consuming. Okay, usually it's a combination of those two things. Now, when I talk about fat gain mode, let's understand this. Like I said, we get our energy from food, especially in the form of carbohydrates, which aren't evil. It's just a compound found in food that we derive a lot of energy from. When you consume foods that are especially high in sugars and starches and stuff like that, what happens is your body will secrete what's called insulin from your pancreas, and insulin is what allows your body to pull the excess energy, the glucose, into your fat cells to store. Okay, it also insulin also allows uh glucose and whatnot to come into like some of your other body cells as well. Okay, but including your fat. That's why some people call insulin the fat storage hormone or the fat gain hormone. Because of the way that we typically eat, as well as how often we eat, a lot of us are constantly in fat gain mode. Okay. Now, of course, this is also contributed to by whatever your activity levels are as well, but especially based on the way that our society is largely sedentary. We work in offices and we just don't really move around a lot. We walk, we drive everywhere. We use elevators and escalators and stuff. We are literally so fat. I mean, where I was going with that was that the way that we eat has a much greater impact on our body composition than um how much we move. But anyway, that said, because of how much we eat, because of the type of food we eat, most of us are constantly in fat gain mode. And we're wondering why, but the truth is we're constantly in that mode because of the way that we're eating and how often we're eating, how much we're eating as well. Okay? So, this is the plain and simple truth. What's happening is it's something about your energy input, your energy output, and you're continuously bringing in more energy than your body needs, which is unfortunately very easy in today's world, and especially in Western societies like ours that have so much processed food, which is unnaturally high in energy. It's not, it's not whole food. So what happens is very, very high in like sugars and starches and all these different kind of things, keeping your insulin really high and causing you to always be in fat gain mode. And literally, the only way that your body will actually get to a place where it will begin to release fatty acids to be used for energy is when your insulin levels are low. Okay. If you're constantly releasing insulin, in other words, you're constantly like you're snacking, you're eating big meals and snacking, and your diet is largely processed, you're literally not giving yourself a chance to use your own fat. Then couple that with a sedentary lifestyle, and that's just like the icing on the cake. Like you'll never be in fat in the fat loss mode, so to speak. Okay. All right, let's keep on going. The third and final point I want to make in this webinar is that excess fat will come off with the right lifestyle. It just will. It will. So that's the first thing I really want to stress. The fat will come off. A lot of people believe that theirs is a unique case, that they're the exception, that the fat's not going to come off of them. It's like the fat is just kind of holding on to them. Remember, fat is not some sort of evil villain. Fat is an organ. Fat is energy. Okay. And so it will come off if you give it a reason to come off. But as long as you're in fat gain mode, then it's not going to come off. Your body's not going to have any reason to use it. Matter of fact, you're just going to keep on adding more and more. Second part of this point is that it'll come off with the right lifestyle. So the question is, what is the right lifestyle? Okay. Now it has to have to do with eating. That's going to be the main thing. Then it also has to do with lifestyle, movement, the movement aspect of lifestyle. Eating and movement. There are some other things that will matter as well, such as getting enough sleep. Um, you know, I guess drinking comes along with eating as well. But like there are little things that'll make a difference, like sleep and whatnot. But the main things are going to be how you eat and then how you exercise or how you move. Because it's not all about exercise, it's about your overall movement. Exercise is kind of like a supplement. All right, so let's talk about the right kind of way to eat to get out of fat gain mode. So here we go. First of all, your diet needs to be largely whole food. I'm not even talking about carbohydrates and stuff like that yet. If you would simply make most of your diet whole food, meaning it's not packaged stuff, cookies and crackers and sodas and energy drinks and um just all the little, candies and all these different kind of things we snack on all day. If you would simply eat mostly what comes in the produce section, and then some lean meats and stuff like that, that would be a lot of the issue resolved right there. That'd be a lot of the issue. A diet that is whole, okay? Like the staples, stuff that you have to cook from scratch. And I'm not talking about cooking with scratch with processed stuff. I'm talking about cooking from scratch with natural ingredients, okay? And natural, again, that only means it's not something that you got from like some sort of, powder in a bag, like mix this with water and then you get an instant meal or like frozen food. I'm talking about stuff that's not that. I'm talking about scratch ingredients that you prepare yourself. Okay. So a whole food diet is a lot of the issue. A diet that's generally low in sugars and starches. Okay. Because again, that's where you get a lot of your most of your energy from. And a lot of us are real big on bread, especially processed bread. We're real big on drinking drinks all day long, even if those drinks are, artificially sweetened. We're big on those and we're constantly drinking them. But if you're serious about the fat coming off, you have to make some sacrifices in those areas. Another thing is how often you eat. We've grown up in a society that says 3 times a day. I mean, yeah, 3 times a day for meals, plus 2 or 3 snacks in between meals. We don't need snacks in between meals. We don't. We don't. Now, I'm not saying I don't do that sometimes. Um, I may, but as far as a need, we don't need snacks between meals. And plus, when we snack anyway, a lot of times we're not going to be snacking on anything healthy. If you had a if you have an office job like I've had, people be bringing in donuts and candy and all this kind of stuff, and you might be snacking on that, or they have snack machines. Let's just be real, okay? But you don't need snacks. You just don't. And those drinks and stuff like that. And so eliminating significantly reducing processed food, eliminating snacks, and then also other food timing stuff such as like eating late at night, eating after dark. You know, if that's something you habitually do, then or getting up for middle of the night snack and stuff like that. That stuff is actually interrupting your sleep anyway, which sleep interruption in and of itself can affect your insulin and cause you to be in fat gain mode. So like I'm telling you, even eating after dark is something that you don't want to do if you want to switch your body into fat loss mode, okay, or fat burn mode, whatever you want to call it, okay? Exercise wise, generally what do you want to do? Now, cardio is cool, but cardio, believe it or not, is not the main thing. Okay. And I'll probably get into this in the future, but I just put it this way. It's a lot of people who run and they'll lose fat that way, but they lose muscle as well. Especially if you do a lot of long distance running. Okay. So cardio is cool because you want to get your heart pumping, you want to get your lungs kind of like exercising and whatnot. But if you do cardio, you do want to get a decent amount in. But you want to do that and you want to do what probably really needs to be emphasized is strength training. So that's lifting weights, that's calisthenics, that's exercise that is stimulating your muscles to grow. Like you're intentionally using your muscles to stimulate them to grow. Why? Because when you maintain or increase your muscle mass, what happens is because muscle is more metabolically active, it helps you to not hold on to fat as much. It actually helps you to burn more fat. Okay, when you gain muscle. Ladies often have a concern about being bulky. It's not going to happen. You just don't have the hormonal profile for that to happen. So you don't have to be scared of that. But yeah, some cardio, especially walking. Walking is great cardio that's not going to cause you to lose a lot of muscle. But other cardio, I also would recommend high intensity cardio like sprints, hill sprints, like some sort of intermittent stuff where you go hard and then you come off, and go hard and come off, stuff like that. Strength training is good as well. Okay. And then also you want to make sure, especially if you're 35 or over, like I am, you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to recover. Because sometimes when we don't let ourselves recover, especially the older you get, you're more likely to pull something or be injured. And you have to give your body a chance whenever it's stimulated, you have to give it a chance to repair. And that's where the repair comes from when you rest, when you sleep. Okay. This is what it means to have the right lifestyle for losing the excess fat, getting you out of fat gain mode, because so many of us are in fat gain mode and we don't understand it. Okay. All right. That said, I have a 30-day jumpstart fat loss challenge that I'm preparing to release very soon for those of you, especially as this year rolls around, who are interested in jumpstarting your fat loss, getting your body out of fat gain mode, learning how to eat so that on a lifestyle basis, meaning not just for this 30 days, but even beyond this, where you can make sure from here on out that your body, you know how to keep your body lean, you know how to keep your body from always being in fat gain mode. In this challenge, I'm going to give you eating strategies to put your body in fat loss mode. I'm going to give you those strategies. Literally, it's not a diet plan because I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, but it's diet strategies, eating strategies that will show you how to adapt your diet, however you eat now, to a diet that will help you to healthily lose fat. I also give you access to beginner level strength workouts in the form of body weight exercise. You can do it at home, you can do it at a gym, you can do it at a park, whatever your choice. The workouts take only about 15 minutes each, 10 to 15 minutes each. You can do them in the privacy of your own home if you want to, and they will stimulate your muscles to grow, which is going to help aid you in your fat loss. And then I also will include in this challenge a pre-made cardio schedule, specifically for beginners. It helps to kind of walk you through gradually kind of increasing your cardio in a way that's going to help you to preserve muscle, get the health benefits of cardio as well, and then also kind of like help you to burn some of the extra glucose off, if that makes sense. Okay. Now I plan on releasing this challenge no later than Sunday, December 28th. Um, and it'll be $49 if you purchase it in 2025. So I'm doing it that low just because I want to give you an opportunity to start early. It's a good idea to go ahead and start now rather than waiting to 2026. Okay. To show that you're really serious, go ahead and get started in December. All right. If you want to join the wait list, I have a QR code here on the screen. And once this challenge is released, and it'll be in a PDF form, it'll have links in there to workouts. It'll have all the different things I've mentioned, and you can also use the Facebook group I have, Transform Your Physical Health Facebook group, to get in touch with me, tell me about how your experience is with the challenge, share your wins, all that, those who join the wait list. Okay, now let's see. Do you have any questions about um, what we talked about, making fat loss easy in 2026? Remember, it is easy, but you actually have to believe that first. You have to believe that fat loss is easy. A lot of people just don't even believe that. But what I'm telling you is that it is. If you don't believe it is, then it's going to be hard for you. But I'm telling you, it's easy. It's easy. You just have to look at it a different way, and you have to understand the things in your lifestyle that are making it way more difficult than it has to be. Any questions? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna let that be it here now. I appreciate those of you who popped in and joined and listened in and whatnot. I plan on doing this more, but remember, fat loss is not hard. It's not. It's not. The main thing is that most of us are always in fat gain mode. And if you really want to get out of fat gain mode, then there are things you can do. Thank you for joining me today. I hope y'all have a great day. And I wish you the best of success with your fat loss, with your overall health in 2026. Y'all take care.